Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Brennan. I'm with CollectiveSun's. I'm the VP of Sales here, and I have with me today Anastatios Hionis. And
Hey,
hi,
how's it going?
hi. And by the way, I refer to, or I always call Anastasio Stas. Over the years, I've known him for a long time, and it's easier for me to call him Stas. And thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. And we're here to talk a little bit more about the commissioning report. And it's really nice to have Stas here because he is, well, he's a PE, he's a principal of PVAmps, and they've helped us commission quite a few systems. They've helped us with design, and actually Stas and his firm wrote the commissioning report. So he's a great person to have on the call. We're gonna have a brief sort of overview of it. We're gonna touch on the spreadsheet that we use. And I do want to introduce Stas and just a little bit about his company. I already mentioned that PVAmps has helped us with commissioning systems and designing systems as well. And his firm works all across the country, commissioning, designing small commercial to utility scale. Also, quite a few occasions works as a owner's rep, where his engineering firm actually represents the host customer. So they're a great firm to work with. So Stas, could you just take a moment and just talk a little bit about it and maybe a little bit about yourself and background?
Sure. I'm Anastatios, CEO of PVAmps. We act as an independent engineer doing design, performance testing, capacity testing, function testing, commissioning review, and forensics for the stakeholders of the industry. And so, as Matt was saying, we start with early stage developers. We work through the builders and the construction teams doing design plans and working through the construction issues. We also transition to the commissioning review for owners groups like Matt and his team, as well as doing the function and capacity testing for projects. And then as things transition into long-term ownership, we often work as an owner's rep doing technical diligence for purchasing of portfolios, troubleshooting and repowering systems. And then if things do go a little worse than that, we also have a section that works on forensics for projects. So as things age and have incidents, we also investigate those as well. So we're happy to work with Matt and his team and help make each solar project better every day.
Thanks, Stas. Appreciate that. And we'll include your contact information in this video if anybody wants to reach out directly or reach out through me, and I can make a connection, or anybody at CollectiveSun's can. I'm going to share my screen, Stas, and we can talk about this. So this is a spreadsheet that we send to all of our contractors. So contractors, if you're listening to this, or it could be some nonprofits that we work with or hosts that we work with, this is the commissioning protocol. A lot of our contractors, they're doing their own commissioning on all their systems in the small commercial world. And this will look familiar to a lot of contractors. And it's really important this is done. I mean, this makes sure that the system that we designed is functioning as it should. And these are the basic exhibits that we go through. So I'm going to go through the tabs on the bottom of the spreadsheet and ask a couple of questions of Stas. And Stas, you can just kind of jump in. And again, let's do a brief overview of this to give the contractors, and if there are some of our clients listening in, give them an idea of what we're looking for and why it's important. The first exhibit, basic equipment specs. So Stas, could you just talk a little bit about this exhibit 1 through 2?
Yeah, absolutely. And as an overview, all these exhibits are designed to document what was on the project, what was promised to be delivered, what actually got installed, and then to document the installed conditions, not only for the owner base, but for future owners and operators of the system. It kind of gives a good point of reference for the project. And so, initially we want to know, what was set up to be on the project, what are all the parts and pieces that are supposed to be there. Sometimes there's supply issues and they change. And so, what module may have been started on a project, may have changed during delivery. And so we want to make sure that all those parts and pieces are known and identified. Yeah.
Usual suspects here. We're asking for equipment specifications, the different inverters in the arrays.
Yep, exactly. And then kind of general design and arrangement. That often helps with troubleshooting of the system as well. So what was supposed to be there? How was it supposed to be set up? sometimes you identify pipes or skylights or other fun things on rooftops, especially, that shift a few things around. So it's good to know where things ended up being on projects.
Yeah, so I mean, so this actually leads right into Exhibit 3, which is, talking a little bit more about the as-built, because, that's as you're seeing, what was initially laid out before construction started isn't always what gets built for a number of issues. One we're seeing today with, supply chain issues, right? So you swap out maybe one tier 1 module for a different tier 1 module because that's what's available at the time. And it's really important that when the system is built that we get all this documented, because we're eventually going to be handing this off to our customer. As everyone knows, we own the system for 6 years. But when we hand it back to the customer, then there's 6 years, it's nice to give them back the package and say, here's everything. And it's, and it's for their records as well. So this is a bit about the check. This is the checklist, and it changes a little bit, whether it's a roof mount or a ground mount or a carport, but the basic checklist that we do for the as-built.
Yep. Yeah. Start to finish, not only what is there, but, were the proper things checked in the right order before the system was turned on? And then, how do you show operationally that it worked correctly? So, some of the checklist here is looking at, do we seal the conduit penetrations correctly? Are the inverters installed in the right spot? Do we have the right fire offsets from the edge of the parapet? Those sorts of things. Are the wires tucked up nice and neat on the project, or are they, hanging on the roof? So a lot of this stuff is, just to make sure that, people remember to do certain things, and then to document how they looked at the end of the project, so that, a clean workmanship array is delivered to the client. Yeah.
Thanks, Das. And, as part of this as-built, and I'm going to switch screens for just a second here and bring up, here's an example of, a typical system where we ask for the, we have a checklist of images that we want to see, and we get these for all of our projects. And it's nice to have a visual confirmation of these things.
Yeah, it's great because you don't get a chance to go out as owners to every site, and us as engineers who are reviewing also don't have the opportunity to get out on every site and see how they're looking. And so this provides not only clear documentation of what was installed where, but the manner in which it was installed. And so, you had a great photo. If you scroll back up, someone did a really nice job on some of that wiring right there, on that panel there. So you can kind of see, yes, these guys did a great job. Everything's installed as it should be, and it looks nice and neat and clean. So it's good to know, and verify, these are the actual parts and pieces that showed up. But then you can also say, hey, look, this is a really great install. And it speaks really well to the contractors that they can document the stuff. And then, if you need to find something later, you can also go back and kind of look through the drawings and see see where the parts are and how to find things. So it's good for long term as well as initial. Yeah.
Yeah, and with the visual confirmation to see that, we can move to the last one here, exhibits 4 through 6, which in my mind I always think of the integrity of the system, right? The integrity of the wire runs mostly is what comes to mind for me. So go ahead, Stas. Exhibits 4 through 6 here.
Yeah, so 4 through 6 is really, kind of on the DC side, was it installed right? On the AC side, was it installed right? And that usually, depending on the equipment or the optimizers or the inverters installed, that may or may not include a Megger test. Basically you're trying to see, are there breaks in the wire? Are there nicks in a conduit that could cause a ground fault? Really is the wiring intact and all the connections nice and tight, both on the AC and the DC side. So you really want to make sure that the polarity is correct, the right connector got put on correctly, the inverter fired up and was able to output and did its diagnostics and didn't have a trip for a ground fault. So really just a thorough check on the AC and DC side. Before you power it up, what are things supposed to look like? After you power it up, what is the inverter telling you? And then what's being able to be reported to the monitoring system. So kind of, those 3 kind of checks: DC, AC, and then operations. Yeah.
Thanks. Appreciate that, Stas. That wraps up the basic overview of the commission report. We have people here at CollectiveSun that can help our contractors with this. Of course, we have Stas as a resource in this company. So if anybody out there is, talking with nonprofits, looking for financing, obviously any of us here at CollectiveSun would like to talk with you. And we'll include Stas's contact information here in the video. If it's not in the video itself, it'll be in the description for YouTube. You can also reach out to me and I can make a connection. Stas, thanks a lot. You've been a huge help to us over the years. And thanks for taking the time to do this video.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.